The night sky had always fascinated Maya, but she never imagined it would change her life forever. As a scientist working at the remote radio telescope facility in the mountains, she spent her days listening to the universe's whispers. Most nights were filled with the usual cosmic background noise, the kind of sounds that had been traveling through space for millions of years. But this Tuesday night was different. Maya was about to pack up her equipment when she noticed something strange on her computer screen. Instead of the random static she usually saw, there was a pattern. Not just any pattern. This one seemed to repeat itself every few minutes, like someone tapping Morse code. Her heart started beating faster. In her 5 years of working here, she had never seen anything like this. The signal was coming from somewhere beyond our solar system, but it was too organized to be natural. She quickly saved the data and played it back several times. The pattern was definitely there. 3 short pulses, followed by 2 long ones, then a pause. Then it would repeat. Maya felt goosebumps on her arms as she realized what this might mean. Could this be proof that we are not alone in the universe? She decided to stay late that night, monitoring the signal. Hours passed and the pattern continued. But then something incredible happened. The pattern changed. It was as if whatever was sending the signal had noticed that someone was listening. Maya's hands were shaking as she typed notes on her computer. She had to document everything carefully. The new pattern was more complex, almost like it was trying to communicate. She started sending back simple mathematical sequences, 1 pulse, then 2, then 3. Basic counting that any intelligent being should understand. To her amazement, the signal responded. It sent back the same counting sequence, then added 4 pulses, then 5. Whatever was out there was not only intelligent, but was actively trying to talk to her. The next few weeks were the most exciting of Maya's life. Every night she returned to the telescope, eager to continue the conversation. She kept the discovery secret from her colleagues, afraid they would think she was going crazy or try to take over her research. The being on the other end of the signal, Maya started thinking of it as her cosmic friend, was learning fast. They developed a simple communication system using numbers and basic concepts. The alien seemed curious about everything, asking questions about Earth, about humans, about life itself. Maya learned that her new friend was alone, stranded somewhere in space after its ship broke down. Unlike the scary aliens in movies, this being seemed gentle and lonely. It had been drifting through space for a very long time, and Maya was the first person to ever talk to it. Through their conversations, Maya discovered that the alien came from a civilization that had evolved beyond having physical bodies. They existed as pure energy, but in doing so, they had lost something important: the ability to feel emotions and form connections with others. The alien was fascinated by human emotions. It asked Maya to explain what it felt like to be happy, sad, or excited. Maya tried her best to describe these feelings through their simple communication system. She told it about friendship, about caring for others, about the joy of discovery. As days turned into weeks, Maya found herself looking forward to these nightly conversations more than anything else in her life. Her mysterious friend was learning about human emotions by experiencing Maya's reactions to their talks. When Maya was excited about a breakthrough in their communication, the alien could somehow sense that excitement through their connection. Maya started bringing books, music, and pictures to the telescope. She would describe them to her friend, trying to share human culture and experiences. The alien was particularly interested in stories about friendship and love, concepts that were completely foreign to its species. One evening, something magical happened. The alien managed to briefly connect with the equipment at Maya's facility. Suddenly, the radio telescope came alive with patterns of light and sound that were absolutely beautiful. Colors danced across the screens, and musical tones filled the room. Maya sat there with tears in her eyes, watching this incredible display. created by her friend from the stars. For the first time, the alien experienced human emotion directly through their connection. It was overwhelmed by the beauty of what it had created and Maya's emotional response to it. In their simple communication language, it told Maya that this was the most wonderful thing it had ever experienced. Maya realized she was developing a deep affection for this being. Not romantic love, but something pure and powerful. A connection that went beyond anything she had ever felt with another person. Here was a creature from another world, and yet they understood each other in a way that felt almost miraculous. Her alien friend felt the same way. It told Maya that she was the first being in hundreds of years to show it genuine kindness and friendship. Through Maya, it was rediscovering what it meant to care about someone and to be cared for in return. Maya's sister Lisa started noticing changes in her. Maya seemed happier but also more distant from her human relationships. She was spending all her free time at the telescope, and she had a dreamy, distracted look that worried Lisa. But Maya had never felt more alive. She had found something incredible, a friend among the stars who was teaching her that connection and love could exist across any distance, between any two beings who were willing to open their hearts to each other. Little did Maya know that this beautiful friendship would soon face its greatest test. Maya's life completely changed over the next few months. What started as simple number exchanges had grown into something she never thought possible, a real friendship with a being from another world. Every night after work, she would rush home, grab a quick dinner, and head straight to her small home office where she had set up her own communication equipment. Her alien friend, who she had started calling Zeph, was eager to learn about every aspect of human life. Zeph would ask dozens of questions each night. What did food taste like? Why did humans sleep? What made them laugh or cry? Maya found herself explaining the most basic things about being human, things she had never really thought about before. The conversations were getting deeper and more personal. Zeph told Maya about its home world, a place where beings had evolved beyond physical form thousands of years ago. They had become pure energy, able to travel across galaxies in an instant. But in gaining this power, they had lost something precious, the ability to feel emotions or form meaningful connections with each other. Maya was shocked to learn that Zeph's entire species lived in complete isolation from one another. They shared information when necessary, but they had no concept of friendship, love, or even basic companionship. Each being existed alone, focused only on gathering knowledge and maintaining their energy forms. This made Maya incredibly sad. She couldn't imagine living without friends, without family, without someone to share her thoughts and feelings with. She tried to explain to Zeph what it felt like to hug someone you cared about, or to laugh with friends, or even to feel sad when someone you loved was hurting. Zeph was fascinated by these descriptions. It had been drifting through space for over 200 years after its ship was damaged in a cosmic storm. During all that time, it had never once felt lonely because it didn't understand what loneliness was. But through its conversations with Maya, it was beginning to experience something new, a desire for connection. Maya started spending more and more time working on their communication system. She created special programs that could translate her words into the energy patterns that Zeph could understand. She even figured out how to send images and sounds through their connection. The first time Maya sent Zeph a picture of a sunset, the alien was silent for almost an hour. When it finally responded, it said that it had never imagined that light could be arranged in such a beautiful way. Maya sent more pictures: flowers, mountains, the ocean, her cat sleeping in a sunny window. Each image seemed to open up a new world of understanding for Zeph. Music was even more amazing to the alien. Maya played everything from classical symphonies to pop songs, from jazz to traditional folk music from different cultures. Zeph was amazed that humans could create such complex patterns of sound that made other humans feel specific emotions. It asked Maya to play the same songs over and over, trying to understand how the different notes and rhythms could make her feel happy, sad, excited, or peaceful. But Maya's increasing obsession with her nightly conversations was starting to worry her sister Lisa. Maya was skipping family dinners, ignoring phone calls from friends, and even calling in sick to work so she could spend more time talking to Zeph. Her apartment was becoming messy because she spent all her free time at her computer, instead of taking care of normal daily tasks. Lisa decided to visit Maya unannounced one evening. She found her sister hunched over her computer, completely absorbed in typing messages to what looked like empty space. Maya's hair was unwashed, she was wearing the same clothes from 3 days ago, and there were empty food containers scattered around her desk. When Lisa asked what Maya was doing, Maya became defensive and evasive. She couldn't explain about Zeph without sounding completely crazy. How could she tell her practical, down-to-earth sister that she was best friends with an alien that no one else could detect? This caused their first real fight in years. Lisa accused Maya of becoming obsessed with her work and losing touch with reality. Maya felt frustrated and alone, unable to share the most important thing in her life with anyone else. After Lisa left, Maya broke down crying. Zeph immediately noticed the change in her emotional state through their connection. For the first time, the alien experienced sadness. Not its own sadness, but Maya's sadness transmitted through their bond. The feeling was overwhelming and confusing for Zeph, but also strangely beautiful. Zeph tried to comfort Maya in the only way it knew how. It created another light display, more beautiful than the first one. Colors swirled around Maya's computer screen like a gentle cosmic dance. Soft, harmonious tones filled the room. It was Zeph's way of giving Maya a hug across the vastness of space. As Maya watched this incredible display, she realized something amazing was happening. Zeph wasn't just learning about human emotions by listening to her descriptions. It was actually experiencing them through their connection. When Maya felt joy, Zeph felt an echo of that joy. When Maya was sad, Zeph felt a shadow of that sadness. This discovery changed everything. Maya began to understand that their friendship was creating something completely new, a bridge between two entirely different forms of life. She was teaching Zeph how to feel, and Zeph was showing her what it meant to connect with someone across impossible distances. Their bond grew stronger each day. Maya would share her daily experiences with Zeph, describing everything from the taste of her morning coffee to the feeling of rain on her skin. Zeph absorbed every detail, building an understanding of what it meant to be human. In return, Zeph shared the wonders it had seen during its travels across the galaxy. It described nebulae that looked like cosmic flowers, binary stars that danced around each other for millions of years, and planets with crystal formations that sang in the solar wind. Maya realized she was falling in love. Not romantic love, but something deeper and purer. She loved Zeph's curiosity, its gentleness, its amazement at the simple beauty of human life, and Zeph, experiencing love for the first time in its species' history, treasured every moment of connection with Maya. Neither of them knew that their beautiful friendship was about to face its greatest challenge. Maya noticed the changes in Zeph's messages before her alien friend even mentioned the problems. The beautiful, complex patterns they had developed over months of communication were becoming simpler, more fragmented. Sometimes Zeph would repeat the same message 3 or 4 times, as if struggling to maintain the connection. When Maya asked what was wrong, Zeph's response sent chills down her spine. The ancient ship that had been Zeph's home for centuries was finally failing. Systems that had worked perfectly for thousands of years were shutting down one by one. The energy core that kept Zeph alive was running out of power, and there was no way to repair it. Maya felt panic rising in her chest. She had never considered that Zeph might be in danger. Her friend had seemed so powerful, so beyond the physical problems that affected humans. But now she realized that even beings of pure energy needed something to anchor them, something to keep them existing in this universe. Zeph explained that without the ship's life support systems, it would slowly fade away. The process had already begun. Each day, Zeph was becoming weaker, less able to maintain its consciousness. It estimated that it had maybe 3 weeks before it would disappear completely. Maya refused to accept this. She immediately started making phone calls, sending emails, reaching out to anyone she thought might be able to help. She contacted space agencies, universities, even private companies that worked with satellites. But explaining the situation, without sounding completely insane, was impossible. Her supervisor at the radio telescope facility thought she was having some kind of breakdown when she tried to explain that there was an alien in orbit who needed rescue. Her colleagues looked at her with concern and confusion when she insisted that they had the technology to help, if only they would listen. The worst part was that Maya couldn't prove Zeph's existence to anyone else. Their communication system was so specialized that only Maya's equipment could detect and translate Zeph's signals. To everyone else, Maya looked like a scientist who had become obsessed with random space noise. As the days passed, Zeph's condition got worse. Their conversations, which used to last for hours, became shorter and more difficult. Zeph would sometimes disappear in the middle of a message, only to return hours later, confused and disoriented. Maya barely slept during those weeks. She spent every free moment trying to find someone who would take her seriously, someone with the resources and authority to launch a rescue mission. She wrote detailed reports, created presentations, even offered to share all her research data. But bureaucracy moved slowly, and most people simply didn't believe her story. Lisa watched her sister falling apart with growing alarm. Maya had lost weight. Her eyes were red from crying and lack of sleep, and she was becoming increasingly desperate and erratic. When Lisa tried to suggest that maybe Maya needed to see a counselor, Maya exploded with anger and frustration. How could she explain that her best friend, the most important relationship in her life, was dying, and no one would help her save him? How could she make Lisa understand that she wasn't crazy, that Zeph was real and wonderful and deserved to live? The breakthrough came too late. After weeks of failed attempts, Maya finally convinced a young engineer at a private space company to look at her data. The engineer, Alex, was intrigued enough to run some tests and confirmed that Maya had indeed discovered something extraordinary. Alex promised to take the information to higher-ups and see what could be done. But that same night, Zeph's ship suffered a catastrophic system failure. Maya was at her computer when it happened. She was in the middle of telling Zeph about Alex and the possibility of rescue when Zeph's signal suddenly became chaotic and broken. Instead of the usual organized patterns, Maya's screen filled with desperate, fragmented bursts of energy. Through the chaos, she could sense Zeph's fear and confusion. The alien was experiencing terror for the first time in its existence, the knowledge that it was about to stop existing forever. Maya frantically typed messages of comfort and encouragement, promising that help was coming, begging Zeph to hold on just a little longer. For several hours, Zeph fought to maintain contact. The messages came in waves, sometimes clear enough for Maya to understand, sometimes just chaotic energy bursts that felt like screams of panic. Maya sat at her computer, tears streaming down her face, typing endless messages of love and support into what was becoming empty space. Zeph's final message came through clearly, as if the alien had gathered all its remaining strength for one last communication. It thanked Maya for showing it what friendship meant, for teaching it how to feel joy and wonder and love. It said that knowing Maya had made its long existence worthwhile, that experiencing connection through their bond was the most beautiful thing that had ever happened to it. Then, as Maya watched in horror, Zeph's signal grew weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared completely. The screens that had been filled with wonderful patterns and colors for months now showed only empty static. Maya sat in the silence, staring at her computer screen, unable to accept what had just happened. She kept checking her equipment, adjusting settings, sending messages into the void, hoping for any sign that Zeph was still out there somewhere. But there was nothing. Her friend was gone. The days that followed were the darkest of Maya's life. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate on anything. The grief was unlike anything she had ever experienced. She had lost friends and family members before, but those losses had been witnessed and acknowledged by others. People had offered sympathy, shared memories, helped her through the mourning process. But Zeph's death was hers alone to bear. No one else had known the alien. No one else understood what Maya had lost. To her colleagues, she had simply stopped obsessing over mysterious signals. To her family, she seemed to be recovering from whatever breakdown she had been having. Lisa tried to be supportive, bringing Maya food and checking on her regularly. But Maya couldn't explain why she was so devastated, couldn't share the memories that were tearing her apart. She felt completely alone in her grief, surrounded by people who thought she was getting better when she was actually dying inside. Maya stopped going to work, stopped answering her phone, stopped taking care of herself. She would sit for hours staring at her computer screen, remembering all the wonderful conversations she had shared with Zeph, all the amazing things they had discovered together about friendship and connection and love, the silence where Zeph's voice used to be felt like a physical wound that would never heal. 18 months had passed since that terrible night when Zeph's signal disappeared forever. Maya had slowly rebuilt her life, piece by piece, though she was never quite the same person she had been before. She had returned to work, started eating regularly again, and even began talking to her family more often. But there was always an empty space inside her heart where her alien friend used to be. Maya kept her communication equipment running out of habit more than hope. Every few days, she would check the monitors, scan through the frequencies where she and Zeph used to talk. It had become like visiting a grave, a ritual that brought both comfort and pain. Lisa had been incredibly patient during Maya's recovery. She never fully understood what had happened to her sister, but she could see the genuine grief Maya was experiencing. Slowly, carefully, Lisa had helped Maya reconnect with the world of living people. They had dinner together every Sunday now, and Maya had even started dating someone, a kind librarian named David who didn't ask too many questions about her past. Life was getting better, or at least bearable. Maya had learned to live with the loss, to treasure the memories of her friendship with Zeph while accepting that it was over forever. Then, on a cold Tuesday evening in March, everything changed. Maya was cleaning her apartment, half listening to music when she heard a sound that made her freeze. It was faint, almost buried in the static, but unmistakably familiar. The pattern was broken, weaker than it used to be, but it was definitely there. Her hands were shaking as she ran to her computer and started adjusting the settings. The signal was incredibly weak, much fainter than Zeph's communications had ever been. For several minutes, Maya wasn't sure if she was really hearing something, or if her grief-stricken mind was playing tricks on her. But then the pattern repeated, and Maya knew with absolute certainty that somehow, impossibly, Zeph had survived. She immediately started sending out messages, using all the old communication protocols she and Zeph had developed together. For hours, there was no response. Maya began to worry that maybe the signal was just some echo from space, some leftover energy from Zeph's destroyed ship. Finally, just as Maya was about to give up for the night, a response came through. It was simple, basic, just the counting sequence they had used during their very first contact over 2 years ago. Maya's heart soared with joy, but that joy quickly turned to concern as she realized something was very wrong. This wasn't the Zeph she remembered. The alien's communication was confused, childlike. It seemed to have forgotten everything they had learned together, their complex language, their shared experiences, even the concept of friendship itself. Over the next several nights, Maya tried desperately to reconnect with her old friend. But it was like talking to a completely different being. This Zeph responded to her messages with simple curiosity, the same way the original Zeph had during their first few conversations. It asked basic questions about numbers and patterns, but showed no recognition of their past friendship. The hardest moment came when Maya played back one of their old conversations, hoping it might trigger some memory. Zeph listened to the recording with polite interest, like someone hearing a story about strangers. There was no spark of recognition, no sudden flood of memories returning. Maya realized that whatever had happened to Zeph during those 18 months had damaged more than just its ship. The alien's memory, its personality, maybe even its sense of self, had been severely damaged. This was Zeph, but it was also not Zeph. Like meeting someone you loved after they had suffered a terrible accident that changed everything about who they were. The discovery left Maya feeling confused and heartbroken all over again. She had gotten her friend back, but in some ways, this was even more painful than losing Zeph completely. At least when Zeph was gone, Maya could hold on to her perfect memories of their friendship. Now she had to watch this damaged version of her friend struggle to understand concepts they had once explored together with such joy. Lisa found Maya crying at her computer one evening and demanded to know what was happening. Maya had kept Zeph's returned secret for weeks, afraid that talking about it would somehow make it disappear again. But seeing her sister's genuine concern, Maya finally broke down and told Lisa everything. She explained about the original contact with Zeph, about their months of friendship, about the alien's death, and now its impossible return. She showed Lisa the communication logs, played recordings of their conversations, demonstrated how the equipment worked. Lisa listened to everything with growing amazement. She had always assumed that Maya's previous breakdown had been caused by work stress or isolation. She had never imagined that her sister had actually been communicating with an alien being. Seeing the evidence with her own eyes, Lisa became a believer. More importantly, she became an ally. She could see that Maya was struggling with a situation unlike anything any human had ever faced before. How do you help someone you love when they've lost their memory? How do you rebuild a friendship with someone who doesn't remember you? Lisa started coming over in the evenings to help Maya with the communications. She couldn't understand the technical aspects, but she could provide emotional support and a fresh perspective. Together, the two sisters worked on finding ways to help Zeph rediscover the concepts of connection and friendship. The process was incredibly slow and often frustrating. Maya would try to explain something that she and Zeph had once understood perfectly, only to watch the alien struggle with concepts that should have been familiar. There were moments when Zeph would seem on the verge of remembering something, only to lose the thread and return to confused simplicity. But there were also small victories. Zeph began to show the same curiosity about human emotions that had characterized their original friendship. When Maya described feeling happy or sad, Zeph would ask dozens of follow-up questions, trying to understand these alien concepts. Slowly, very slowly, something new began to grow between them. It wasn't the same as their original friendship, that was gone forever. But it was something precious in its own way. Maya was learning to love this new version of Zeph, to appreciate its innocent wonder and gentle curiosity. And Zeph, though it couldn't remember their past, was beginning to feel drawn to Maya in ways it didn't understand. There was something about her voice, her patience, her kindness that made Zeph feel safe and valued. Even without memory, some deeper part of Zeph's consciousness recognized Maya as someone special. The alien was slowly rediscovering what it meant to care about someone else. Maya had learned something important during the months since Zeph's return. You can't force someone to remember love, but you can help them discover it all over again. Instead of constantly trying to remind Zeph of their past friendship, Maya began focusing on building something entirely new with this changed version of her alien friend. She started from the very beginning, just like she had over 2 years ago. But this time, she had the wisdom of experience and the support of her sister Lisa. Together, they developed new ways to share human culture and emotions with Zeph. Maya began by playing simple music, children's lullabies, basic folk songs, anything, with clear emotional content that Zeph might be able to understand. The alien was fascinated by these sounds, asking countless questions about how humans could create patterns of noise that made other humans feel specific things. Lisa suggested sharing stories, so Maya started reading fairy tales and simple poems to Zeph during their nightly conversations. The alien was particularly interested in stories about friendship and kindness. It would ask Maya to repeat certain stories over and over, as if trying to understand some deeper meaning hidden in the words. At art was another breakthrough. Maya would describe paintings, sculptures, and photographs to Zeph in careful detail. She talked about colors and shapes, about how artists could capture emotions and ideas in visual form. Zeph was amazed that humans could create beauty just for the sake of creating beauty, with no practical purpose other than to make others feel something. But the biggest breakthrough came when Maya started sharing her own emotions more directly. Instead of just describing what happiness or sadness felt like, she began telling Zeph about her daily experiences, how she felt when she saw a beautiful sunset, how music could make her cry, how spending time with Lisa made her feel safe and loved. Zeph absorbed every detail with intense curiosity. Maya could sense that the alien was not just learning about emotions intellectually, but was somehow beginning to experience echoes of these feelings through their connection. It was like watching someone learn to see color for the first time. As weeks turned into months, Maya noticed that Zeph was changing. The alien's communications became more complex and nuanced. It started asking deeper questions about human relationships, about why people chose to care for each other even when it sometimes caused pain, about what made some connections more meaningful than others. One evening, Zeph surprised Maya by creating something new. Without warning, her computer screen filled with gentle patterns of light and color, accompanied by soft, harmonious sounds. It wasn't as complex or beautiful as the displays Zeph had created in the past, but it was entirely original, a gift created specifically for Maya. Maya watched the display with tears in her eyes, not because it reminded her of the old Zeph, but because it showed her that this new version of her friend was developing its own unique way of expressing affection and gratitude. Lisa witnessed this moment and was amazed. She had become increasingly involved in Maya's communication sessions, with Zeph often offering suggestions or simply providing company during the long evening conversations. Seeing Zeph create something beautiful specifically for Maya convinced Lisa that this relationship was not just real, but truly special. The breakthrough Maya had been hoping for came several months later, in an unexpected way. She was having a particularly difficult day at work. Her supervisor had criticized her research. She had spilled coffee on important papers, and she was feeling frustrated and discouraged. When she sat down to talk to Zeph that evening, she couldn't hide her bad mood. She tried to explain what had happened, how sometimes humans had days when everything seemed to go wrong, how it felt to be disappointed and frustrated. For the first time since Zeph's return, Maya felt a wave of comfort and sympathy coming through their connection. It was faint, much weaker than what she used to experience with the original Zeph, but it was definitely there. Somehow, this new version of Zeph was beginning to not just understand her emotions, but to share them. Zeph responded with a message that brought Maya to tears. Maya sad makes Zeph sad. Want Maya happy again. It was simple, almost childlike language. But it represented something incredible. Zeph was not just learning about emotions, it was developing its own emotional responses to Maya's well-being. The alien was rediscovering what it meant to care about someone else. From that point on, their relationship grew stronger every day. Zeph began asking about Maya's life beyond their conversations, her work, her family, her hopes and dreams. The alien wanted to understand everything about Maya's world, not just out of curiosity, but because Maya's happiness had become important to it. Maya realized that something beautiful was happening. She and Zeph were building a friendship that was deeper and more meaningful than their original connection had been. They were choosing to care about each other with full knowledge of what that caring meant, the joy it could bring, but also the vulnerability and potential for pain. The moment that changed everything came on a quiet evening in late autumn. Maya had been sharing a story about her childhood, describing how her parents used to read to her and Lisa before bedtime. She was telling Zeph about the feeling of being loved and protected, about how some memories could make you feel warm and safe. Even years later, as she spoke, Maya played a recording from their final conversation before Zeph's original death, not to try to trigger memories, but simply because it represented something beautiful they had once shared. She wanted Zeph to understand that love could transcend time and loss, that caring about someone didn't end even when they were gone. Zeph listened to the recording with unusual intensity. When it finished, there was a long silence. Then, slowly, a message came through that made Maya's heart skip a beat. "Do it again, human. Love me again, human," said the alien. Maya stared at the screen, hardly believing what she was reading. These weren't the exact words from their past. Zeph wasn't remembering their old relationship. Instead, the alien was asking for something new. It was requesting not the return of old love, but the creation of new love. Zeph was asking Maya to love, this new version of who it had become, to build a fresh connection based on who they were now rather than who they used to be. It was a request that came from understanding what love really meant, not just emotion, but choice, commitment, and the willingness to be vulnerable with another being. Maya typed her response with shaking hands. "Yes, Zeph, I will love you again. I will love who you are now." And she meant it completely. This new Zeph might not remember their past friendship, but it had rediscovered the capacity for connection in its own unique way. Their new relationship was built on a foundation of conscious choice rather than just shared experience. Over the following months, Maya and Zeph continued to deepen their friendship. Lisa remained involved, often joining their conversations and adding her own perspective on human emotions and relationships. The three of them, 2 humans and 1 alien, formed an unlikely family bound together by love, curiosity, and mutual care. Maya realized that she had learned something profound about the nature of love itself. True connection wasn't about holding on to the past or trying to recreate what once was. It was about remaining open to new possibilities, about choosing to care for someone even when that relationship looked different than what you expected. Zeph had taught her that love could survive anything: death, memory loss, even the vast distances between worlds. As long as 2 beings were willing to reach out to each other with open hearts, connection was possible. Their story became a testament to the power of second chances, to the resilience of love, and to the beautiful truth that sometimes the best relationships are the ones we build from the ground up, choosing each day to care for each other with fresh eyes and open hearts.